champions of baseball.
At Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, the New York Mets play the Cincinnati Reds. Tuesday Night Baseball is presented by Verizon. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the Better Network. Verizon. Better matters. By the State Farm agent of the game, Hector Camillo of the Bronx. Contact Hector at hectorcamillo.com. By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By Toyota, visit your local Toyota dealer or buyatoyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. And by Astoria Bank, the difference is wanting to make a difference. Visit astoriabank.com. Well, after the last couple of years, the Mets have thrown a lot of cold water on the Cincinnati Reds, but there were better times for the Reds. Don't forget the big red machine of the 70s. They dominated baseball. The likes of Johnny Bench throwing out runners with those big hands, and Joe Morgan stealing bases and hitting home runs, and Frank Robinson back in the early 60s winning an MVP. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Cincinnati. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play the middle game of their series against the Reds. Mets have been on a roll. They've won 12 of their last 16. They're one game out of the second wild card and just a game and a half out of the first wild card. But the dynamic in the clubhouse is a little different now. 7 more players joined the Mets today, a total of 37 active players in the clubhouse. And I wonder how much that changes the dynamic for this team that's playing so well right now.
You know, Gary, it can change it. You have to really work hard that it doesn't, because remember, a lot of guys are in the crunch time right now, and you have a lot of players, frankly, who are not going to probably see the field a lot for Terry Collins. That'll be his job, to make sure that the guys who don't play a lot get enough hitting and all those things, but really concentrate on your main men. All
the guys who joined the team today have been here before, other than Gavin Cecchini, the former #1 draft pick. He is here for the first time. On the mound for the Mets tonight, it's going to be Rafael Montero, who takes Jacob deGrom's spot in the rotation. Montero, 5 scoreless innings, his first start this year.
Yeah, the only caveat is he walked 6 in that ball game. But, you know, what Terry Collins said about watching Montero in his last start, that's the first time he said, I really liked his stuff. The stuff was good, it was moving, it was down. And even though he walked 6, he got out of some big, big moments.
It's been an up and down season for the former #1 draft pick, lefty Brandon Finnegan. Mets saw him at his best in April, and he's been pitching very well lately.
Well, this guy's got a great arm, great breaking ball, good changeup. He struck out 21 batters in his last 2 starts, and like you said, Gary, pitching much better than he did in his first 20 starts.
So the Mets have beaten the Reds 12 straight times, trying to make it a lucky 13 tonight. Mets in Cincinnati. All the action coming your way on SNY. you by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. By Bank of America, life's better when we're connected. And by Optimum, presenting Mets games in crystal clear HD. Get to Citi Field Saturday, September 17th. The Mets play the Twins at 7:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Jacob deGrom hair hat, courtesy of Geico. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Time for a look at the Quicken Loans Rocket Arms. Last 15 games, Mets starting pitching has kicked it into gear. And the guys at the end of the rotation, LGM, Lugo, Gesellman, and Montero have been prime contributors, along with the mainstays Colon and Syndergaard. Get to Citi Field for Family Sunday, September 18th. Watch the Mets play the Twins at 1:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans will receive a David Wright eye black patch, courtesy of SNY. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, presented by Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Brandon Nimmo among the Mets who have returned from Vegas to fill out the clubhouse. Mets and Reds, first pitch coming up from Cincinnati.
The way the Mets injuries have gone this year, someone's going to get carpal tunnel from all the fist bumps.
Now the way that's Jerry Blevins passing by. It's his 33rd birthday. Happy birthday, Jerry.
Nice.
There's a Geico Mets starting lineup. Reyes, Cabrera, Cespedes, Granderson all back in the lineup after sitting yesterday. Mets back at full strength. Flores gets the cleanup spot against the left-hander. Granderson down to 7, and Matt Reynolds gets rewarded for his big day yesterday with a start at second base.
Well, I mentioned in the open that Brandon Finnegan's got good stuff. His first 20 starts, though, his ERA was close to 5. His last 7, ERA just a touch over 2. Though those were his Toyota numbers. And defensively behind Finnegan this evening's game, Coors Light defense, Adam Duvall. Peraza was in there for Billy Hamilton, and Scott Schebler, who took right field once Jay Bruce was traded to the Mets. De Jesus Jr.'s at third base, Cozart, Phillips, and Votto the rest of that infield. And for the second day in a row, Tucker Barnhart behind the plate.
Jose Reyes will lead things off. Reyes with a day off yesterday. Needed a blow. He's looked a little weary the last few games he's played. 0 for his last 11 at the plate. And he will bat right-handed against Finnegan. He's hitting .366 this year as a right-hand batter. Second time the Mets have seen Finnegan. He shut the Mets out into the 7th back in April before Cespedes hit a 3-run pinch hit home run to ruin his day. First pitch to Reyes is up and away, ball 1, and we're underway. Brandon Finnegan, just 23 years old, first-round draft pick of the Kansas City Royals 2 years ago, and he was the first player from that draft to appear in the major leagues. And wound up pitching in 7 games in the postseason that year for Kansas City.
Boy, he was awfully good. He was the bridge to get to those 3 great relievers at the end of that Kansas City bullpen. The tattoo on the right arm, not the left arm.
Is that by design?
Oh, of course.
Now, who was the guy? Justin Miller. They made him wear long sleeves because he had too many tattoos on his pitching arm.
Yeah, when did that rule go away?
I don't know. 2-1 to Reyes, hitting a .278 for the year, and it's taken high, and it's 3-1. Cabrera and Cespedes to follow.
Finnegan's had some trouble with control all year long. 70 walks and almost 160 innings.
He's got the unfortunate combination of giving up the most home runs in the National League and the second most walks. There's a call strike, and it pretty much mirrors the Reds pitching staff. The Reds have given up more home runs than any staff in the National League and more walks than any staff in the league. One of the reasons why they're sitting at 22 games under 500. But their pitching has been better lately, as has Finnegan. Reyes reaches out and fouls it away.
Well, I didn't mention it last night, but the staff has been better. They let Mark Riggins, the pitching coach, go. They brought Mac Jenkins in from the bullpen to take over. Teddy Powell, who's their Louisville pitching coach, has moved into the bullpen. So since then, things have been better.
3-2 to Reyes leading off. And Jose takes it low for ball 4, and he's on with a leadoff walk. So the 73rd walk given up by Finnegan in 154 2/3 innings. He's averaging 4.2 walks per inning, which in this day and age in baseball is extremely high. This is going to be the 9th straight year that Major League Baseball sets a new all-time record for most strikeouts, but the walk rate has been going down as the strikeouts have been going up.
You know, in my day, if you had a 3-to-1 ratio, strikeouts to walks, that was pretty good. Now it's 5, 6, 7 to 1.
And again, does not even have a 2-to-1 ratio. Here's Cabrera, came off the bench yesterday for an RBI pinch hit single, and he hooks that one foul. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. And Drupal Cabrera raging hot. Last 14 games hitting .455 with 6 home runs. He has been extraordinary since coming off the disabled list with a tendonitis in his knee, which has not seemed to hurt his swing at all as he's gotten a day off here and there. Reyes at first and nobody out. Changeup misses away, a ball and a strike to Cabrera.
Well, he made that decision to play even though his leg wasn't feeling 100%. And first at bat, lifted it out of the ballpark.
Yeah. And I mean, 17 games since coming off the disabled list, he's hitting well over 400, and he looks so relaxed at the plate right now, taking easy swings and getting hits. Pops that one up behind first base. Votto down over his shoulder, now finds it and makes the catch for the first out of the night. Follow Mets Baseball live with the MLB.com and Bat app, which includes game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com and Bat, the #1 app for live baseball, on your phone and tablet. Here is Cespedes, who we mentioned earlier wrecked Finnegan's start in New York back in April. Remember, Cespedes had that run-in with the stands down the left field line early in the season, bruised his thigh and hip area. It was an enormous bruise, and it took weeks for it to get better. And he was out of the lineup that night, came off the bench. They had to find him in his shorts near the batting cage to get him ready for the pinch hit at bat. He quickly put his uniform pants on, came to the plate, saw one pitch, hit a 3-run homer, and the Mets won the ball game.
Air vacuum in.
It was one of those great Cespedes moments, of which there have been so many since he arrived with the Mets last year.
Finnegan's got a pretty good move. He doesn't even try to step towards first, but left-handers very rarely do the umpires call a balk.
Finnegan was exclusively a reliever in his Kansas City days. Reds decided from the day they got him from Johnny Cueto at the deadline last year that he was going to be a starting pitcher. And his 28th start this year. Cespedes with the big cut, 0-1.
I mean, big swing here from Cespedes. He's such a good breaking ball hitter and just missed that one.
Finnegan's last 3 starts, he's walked 4 and struck out 29, so he's had his control in better stead. Throw down to first by Barnhart, not a good throw, otherwise he might have had a shot at Reyes.
Kind of stumbling was Barnhart, so he didn't get enough on this throw, and Joey Votto just came up to get the short hop so it wouldn't get by him. But it could have been a close play. The Molinas, you know who does that very well is a young catcher, Wilson Contreras.
Chicago. Finnegan ahead on Cespedes, 0-2. And Yoenis takes outside, 1-2. He had 12 strikeouts 2 starts back, which was a career high for him.
It was against the D-backs in only 6 innings.
And then 9 against in his last start against the Angels. One thing about Finnegan, though, they have been protecting his pitch count. He hasn't had a game where he's thrown 100 pitches since June. So he's got to be efficient if he wants to get at all deep into a game. And Cespedes lays off, 2-2.
Well, his pitching style right now, you know, he's early in his career, so he's going to get better and better. But it's really almost impossible for him to get through the 6th inning, averaging less than 6 innings a start.
Mr. Redleg, rip off of Mr. Met on the sleeve. And check swing by Cespedes on a pitch well out of the strike zone, and he's out, 2 away.
It's a good breaking ball that never really broke into the zone. It's like almost a backup slider we see from Rockies. That was a backup curveball from Finnegan. That's what fooled Cespedes.
So 2 out. Reyes still at first after his leadoff walk, and now Wilmer Flores, 3 hits yesterday. He raced on the bases all 3 times. At 3 different bases.
I mean, we can laugh about it because the Mets won 5-0, but it was I've never seen anything like it. And I asked Terry Collins today. He said he's never seen anything like it.
Well, and we found out from Elias today that Wilmer became the first player in Mets history to get thrown out stretching on his own base hits twice in one game. It had never happened before in Mets history. And it happened his first 2 at bats yesterday. Thrown out at second after singling and thrown out at third after doubling, both by the left fielder Adam Duvall.
And doubled off first later.
Yeah, that wasn't his fault.
No, of course not.
That was actually comical because Joey Votto tried to chase him down rather than just stepping on first base. The funny thing about that play with Votto at first base, Michael Conforto was on third on that play. If Conforto breaks for the plate and scores before Votto steps on first, the run counts.
That's right.
I'm not sure if Conforto knew that, but Votto just had a brain cramp. It was another thing we've never seen before. Wilmer fouls it off, and it's 1-2.
Well, this one off the wall and thrown out by the same person too. Adam Duvall, the left fielder. first with a strike to second base. Wilmer came off the bag. And then later a ball kind of rolling around in left field after it came off the wall. Wilmer was admiring it, and it cost him at third base.
The second one barely missed being a home run, so he stuck around home plate a little too long, which cost him at third. All's well that ends well, though. Simply a 3-for-4 day for Wilmer in the box score. And he takes inside 2-2.
In fact, after he was doubled off first, Jose Reyes went up to him and said, "You could go for the cycle if you're thrown out at home."
Well, you know, technically he was called out on strikes in the 8th inning, which means that all 4 umpires called him out in the course of the game. How often does that happen? 2-2 coming, and he pops one up in foul ground. Votto hoping for a play right to the railing to make the catch. Side retired. So Finnegan works around a leadoff walk. Rafael Montero will take the mound for the bottom of the first to face the Reds when we come back. Only one change. Ivan DeJesus gets a start at third base, spelling Eugenio Suarez. Otherwise, the same lineup for Brian Price tonight as the Mets roll out Rafael Montero for his second start.
Well, since his start, his Land Rover never was there. Since his start, he pitched an inning and a third in Binghamton, but no other innings.
The start was 8 days ago, and then he started Saturday for Binghamton when an inning and a third gave up 3 runs. Jose Peraza red hot since coming back from the minor leagues. 15 games, hitting .491, including 2 hits yesterday. And he gets under one to deep left field. Cespedes back onto the warning track, feeling for the wall, and has just enough room to make the catch for the first out. Towering shot by Peraza, one away.
Well, defensively behind Montero for the Mets this evening. Alexis defense. You see the outfield. Granderson in center field. It's the infield, though. Not a lot of experience on the right side of the diamond. Matt Reynolds making his second start at second base, and Flores, of course, has been spelling lonely against left-handed pitching. Travis d'Arnaud behind the plate.
Reynolds started 9 games at second base in AAA this year. Here's Zach Cozart, 0 for 4 yesterday, and he takes a strike. Cozart, a guy that a lot of people thought might be dealt around the trading deadline, but the Reds hung on to him. Slick fielding shortstop who's missed a lot of time with injury last year, especially at knee surgery, missed more than half the year.
Almost all the teams that are in the running for the postseason they're pretty solid at shortstop. Rafael
Montero, his 11th career major league start. And he picks off the outside corner and gets Cozart looking for the second out. This is what we saw more of from Rafael in his start against Miami that we hadn't seen in prior years.
Well, it's nice to see Nick Lentz, the home plate umpire, giving him a little bit there, and Montero doing the painting that the Mets have been waiting for.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Joey Votto 1 for 3 yesterday, having a tremendous second half of the season, and he finds the open space and has a base hit. He tried to do that all day yesterday, hit it through the left side. He does it on the first pitch against Montero for a 2-out hit.
Well, he's good for a hit and a walk every game, so that's what's going to happen. There's his hit. You know, the thing about Montero, really look at his lift leg, the front leg. And instead of going up, it goes out, almost kicks out to third base and straightens out before he delivers the baseball. Very unusual motion.
Now Adam Duvall with a runner aboard and 2 out. Duvall 0 for 4 yesterday, and he fouls back the first pitch fastball.
Gary, you know who else kind of kicks out like that is Irvin Santana. Has a similar kind of move to the plate.
Now all Montero needs is the skinny beard.
Yeah.
Duvall 29 home runs, 85 runs driven in, a breakout season for him. And Montero misses away 1-1. Votto is short late at first, and Duvall takes a slider in the dirt. 2-1. Mustache, is that Christoph Waltz in one of his Oscar-winning roles?
Maybe. See, the stash is making its way back onto the ball players. Tyler Saladino has rocking a good one in Chicago.
He's got a little more filled in than Duvall right now. Brandon Phillips would be next. Dribbler foul.
One thing about this generation of players, a lot of them wear beards. I don't know how they do it. It's just so hot this time of year.
You can see the numbers for Montero in AAA. He did much better when he got sent down to AA. 9 starts in Binghamton at a 2.20 ERA. Very different than his season opening numbers in Las Vegas. And that's what earned him his Binghamton performance, the promotion. Now 3-2 to Duvall, so Votto will be in motion with 2 down.
Interesting to see what Montero's choice here. Home run hitter, first 3-2 count. In his first start, he went with a lot of breaking balls on 3-2 count, and they cost him those 6 walks.
He's already thrown him a slider and a changeup in this at bat. And it's popped up foul back and out of play.
There's a slider there. It's almost like the catchers have been directed or instructed that when Montero gets behind, they're going to opt with something softer than the good fastball.
Well, this is the lineup that's got a lot of danger in the middle of it, with Votto and Duvall and to some extent Phillips. That's a fastball and it's fouled back. Well, Yadier Molina hit a grand slam in the top of the first inning against Ryan Vogelsong, so the Cardinals off to a fast start against the fading Pirates, who have lost 7 in a row. That's a game behind the Cardinals, a game and a half behind the Giants, who were also fading. Giants are 16-31 since the All-Star break, and they've been in playoff position all year. That could change soon if they don't get it righted. And ball 4 to Duvall. And the Reds have 2 men on. So there's the first walk for Montero, who walked 6 in his last start.
Pittsburgh, just a bad game they played yesterday against the Cardinals, and Wainwright And Miami, Gary, got one piece back for sure and one piece on its way.
Well, they activated both Justin Bour and Giancarlo Stanton from the disabled list. Now, it costs you nothing to activate them because of the roster expansion. Bour appears to be ready to play. Stanton may be soon available to pinch hit. But, I mean, they are running on fumes there. 4 straight losses, 9 of their last 10. So now Brandon Phillips, 1 for 4 yesterday, bats with 2 out and 2 on. Montero retired the first 2, gave up a base hit to Votto, an 8-pitch walk to Duvall. And now Phillips takes a fastball outside. Greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Those are Stanton's numbers this year, and obviously if he's able to contribute anything for Miami, it will help what has been a lackluster late season performance by the Marlins. They're 11 and 22 since the 1st of August. Phillips fouls it back, a ball and a strike.
Well, that starting pitching problem that they had all season long has reared its ugly head of late. Conley is still out. Wei Chen was supposed to be a big part of that rotation. He hasn't pitched.
And Jose Fernandez struggled a little bit, so that doesn't help either. Phillips out to center field. Granderson in to get it. Side retired. So Montero strands a pair in the first inning. No score after 1. Spent 12 years in the Reds organization from the day he signed his first contract as an 18-year-old with braces. And after 9 big league seasons with the Reds, Jay Bruce being welcomed back to his adopted hometown this week. Nice ceremony yesterday honoring Jay, who gets his first at bat of this game. Went 0 for 4 in yesterday's game and takes a fastball strike from Finnegan.
Reds also donated some money to Bruce's foundation. Classy move.
Jay's got 6 of his 29 home runs against left-handers this year, hitting .220 against left-hand pitching. And the fastball beats him, and it's 0-2. Bruce, Darno, and Granderson for the Mets against Finnegan in the second. Finnegan walked the leadoff hitter Reyes in the first, then got the next 3 without the ball leaving the infield. 0-2 to Bruce. Slider misses down 1-2. Mets have beaten the Reds 12 straight times, which is 3 shy of the Mets club record for consecutive wins against a particular team. Back in '86 and '87, the Mets won 15 straight from the Pirates.
That's right. Mets were 17-1 or 18-1 one year against the Pirates.
Bruce pops it up, and Cozart retreats. 1 out. Of course, the biggest win in that stretch of 12 straight against the Reds was here last September, when the Mets clinched their National League East title in this ballpark, leading to much merriment.
Yes.
What was great that day was the number of Met fans that had made their way to Cincinnati for the occasion.
Got to celebrate 3 times last year. Then in Cincinnati, of course, NLDS and the NLCS.
All 3 celebrations away from home.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati, in Los Angeles, in Chicago.
Take them whatever way you can take them.
I guess.
Yeah.
And had they come back to win the ultimate goal, they probably would have been celebrating in Kansas City. 0-1 to d'Arnaud, and Travis takes outside. Travis is hitting just .204 against lefties this year, and in one of the quirkiest stats of the season. Travis has 49 at bats against lefties, no RBIs. It's the 6th of September. That's almost impossible. That's cued down to first base, and Votto makes sure he plays that spinning ball with 2 hands. That's the 2nd out. I mean, what are the odds of that, even by accident?
Yeah, they've got to be extremely small. I mean, what did I see? Bumgarner has 12 RBIs now. Now, it's been kind of a strange season for Travis. I mean, he's been hitting well of late, but just not with a lot of pop.
Here's Granderson, and he takes a strike on the inside. Curtis, over the last 7 games, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 407 on base percentage. Has been as good a stretch as he's had all season. And in the lineup today against the lefty, which has been rare of late. And Finnegan quickly ahead on him, 0-2. But it's the nature of the way the Mets outfield is configured that you're going to have 2 left-hand hitting outfielders out there, since they only have 1 right-hand hitting outfielder. So it was either Granderson or Conforto today, and it's Granderson. 1-2. The Mets called up a whole host of players, but none of them are right-hand batting outfielders.
Don't have any in the system.
They brought up Nimmo, another left-hand hitting outfielder. They've got De Aza, who's left-hand hitting outfielder. Conforto.
You know, we were talking in the open about having so many people on the bench. There was a time that maybe 3 to 5 players would be brought up 30 years ago, but it's a little different now. They don't mind bringing up 32 to 35, 36 players, and the Mets have what, 37, including DeGrom.
Of course, every team does it differently, and you know, for a team in contention that might need an extra bat here, an extra relief pitcher there, or maybe a pinch runner, makes a little more sense. Granderson hooks one down the line, foul.
I just think that there was a time where clubs fiscally wouldn't want to bring too many players up, and that, with a sound fiscal game now, there's no fear of. I think it costs each team what, about $100,000 for each player that comes up.
Right, prorating the minimum salary for a month, plus travel costs. 2-2 to Curtis. And he smacks one to deep right center field. Back goes Peraza to the track. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Curtis Granderson against the lefty goes deep, and the Mets have the early lead. Number 24 for Curtis as he stays red hot. 4 home runs in his last 22 at bats, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead.
That's the 28th home run allowed by Mr. Finnegan. Nice hitting from Curtis. Tried to go away with a fastball, left it up in the strike zone, and Curtis jumped all over it.
I mean, most of Curtis's home runs come on balls down in the strike zone. That was a little unusual for him.
Well, they haven't hit any tape measure shots the last 3 home runs, but they've been just enough.
Front row counts. Well, we mentioned last night that there is a bit of a jet stream that blows out to right center in this ballpark. There's an opening in the stands between home and third base that creates that jet stream, and the Mets have fully taken advantage of it, including Matt Reynolds. There's that opening, so the wind just blows right through there and carries the ball out to right center. 2-1 to Reynolds.
Nice swing by Curtis, who was able to get his hands up to get to that high fastball. See, he's showing it. That ball was up, right?
Well, Reynolds provided the keynote yesterday, just back from the minor leagues. First at bat, hit an opposite field home run after going fairly sleepless from Seattle to Boston, Salt Lake to Boston, to Cincinnati. He's had a full night's sleep now, and he takes a walk. So the second walk given up by Finnegan, and that'll clear the pitcher's spot here in the second. Rafael Montero still looking for his first big league hit. 0 for 14 in his career. Granderson has been getting on base lately. He's been hitting home runs, but maybe the biggest hit he's had all year for himself and for this team came in that Saturday night game against Washington when he got the bases loaded 2-out hit
just past Murphy, right in the shift. Well, listen, players know the numbers that we have to talk about up here. We don't want to, but we have to talk about it, and they know their numbers, and he knows his runners in scoring position numbers are incredibly low. So to come up with a big hit like that.
Well, the Mets' recent stretch, going 12-4 since the middle of that series in San Francisco, has been an accumulation of a variety of factors, but getting Curtis Granderson into a hot streak, that can only bode well for what is to come. Montero strokes one out to center, but Peraza is there, and he's still hitless in his career. But the Mets get him a run. Curtis Granderson with his 24th home run of the year. Curtis taking the lefty deep, and the Mets go in front 1-0 in the second. Last September, then the Mets were able to celebrate here at Great American Ballpark after clinching the National League East crown with a decisive win against the Cincinnati Reds. And Ronnie just noticed that during that last shot, who's right in the middle of the celebration?
Dilson Herrera,
who's now a Cincinnati Red farmhand. Scott Schebler leads off in the home second and takes ball one from Montero. Interesting. I thought they were going to call up Dilson Herrera, particularly in light of the fact that the Mets are in town, but apparently the Reds have declined to do so, at least for the moment. Schebler pulls one foul.
You know, it's interesting. There's 3 times, I thought it were 2, but there's 3 times that I wish I was still a player. Opening day, postseason baseball, and after seeing that video, then, you know, be able to celebrate with your teammates. There's nothing better, folks.
Schebler lifts one out to left. Cespedes ambles over to get it. One out. Why do you think that baseball has these champagne celebrations as part of its culture, whereas other sports don't seem to?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know that when the Mets clinched in 1986, Dwight Gooden's great game, of course, that the day before, the Mets had some fancy French champagne that had to be eliminated, and we got some nice New York State champagne. So it'd be taking it a little.
So it was a political celebration.
Yes, it was.
Here's Ivan DeJesus, and he takes a slider for a strike.
You know, folks, it's such a long season, and when you get into the postseason, it's because everyone in that room at some point in the season did something to help your team win a game.
Now, what is your what's your position on the champagne celebration should a team that does not win its division clinch a wild card?
No, yeah, I would not. I would not do it until a wild card game is played and you're in the post with a 5-game series to come. That you would do it. I wouldn't do it, but
because if you celebrate the wild card with champagne, then you would also have to celebrate winning the wild card game with champagne.
Well,
which could mean you could have 5 celebrations potentially.
I mean, you just don't really want to celebrate with the champagne because you're usually playing the next day or the day after anyway. So business full steam ahead.
Of course, there was a time when champagne celebrations were not accompanied by plastic sheeting over the lockers and goggles over the eyes. You had to, you know, suffer the consequences of the champagne spray, the ruining of your clothes, the stinging of your eyes.
Tim McCarver always tells this story about Ralph had told him, you know, if there's a champagne celebration, and they were announcers then, make sure you bring an extra coat because you're going to need it. It's going to get ruined. And once the celebration began for that '86 team, Tim looked around and there's Ralph. Ralph had his coat on.
Ralph had tenure.
Yes, he did.
Two and two to Ivan DeJesus with 1 out. And the changeup low and in. 3-2.
Although the ski goggles changes the whole event from what it used to be, because your eyes would be so red, almost felt like they were bleeding after a celebration with champagne.
3-2 coming. And the slider in there, called strike 3. So Montero goes back to the breaking ball on 3-2 and gets the strikeout on DeJesus.
I mean, you can almost book it. If he's going to get to 3-2, he's going to try to throw a changeup or a slider in there, and he got it done there.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Tucker Barnhart, the switch hitting catcher, 1 for 3 yesterday. Better left-hand hitter than right. Takes a changeup down for ball 1.
Well, he's tightened up his breaking ball. I always thought it was a little big when he first came to the major leagues, but you can see that pitch just has a little bit of break on it.
I mean, his stock in trade all through the minor leagues was his ability to throw strikes with all of his pitches. And then he got to the big leagues, and all of a sudden the equation changed.
You know, when he first got here, he was pitching a little scared, which can happen for young pitchers. It's almost like you're facing major leaguers. You're like, you know, I've got to be better than I am in the minor leagues. I've got to be more precise. I did the same thing my first couple of seasons. And it wasn't until you have confidence or you have some success that you start to get more and more confidence.
What's interesting is you look at Montero's 10 major league starts coming into this one. He hasn't been awful. His ERA in those 10 starts is 3.69, which, you know, is credible. It's just the impression that was left after that initial spate of starts 2 years ago was not a positive one.
Also, I think you have to understand, as Barnhart walks, second walk given up by Montero, I think you have to understand you have a pitching coach here that values pitchers who don't walk people. So if you come up and you're a guy who walks people, you're not going to look great in his eyes.
Well, Montero walked 6 in 5 innings in that start 8 days ago. Didn't allow a run. He's now walked 2 in the first 2 innings in this game, and now trying to stay off the board again. Brandon Finnegan 6 for 50 at the plate this year. The Reds have had the worst hitting pitching staff in the National League this year. Their pitchers collectively are hitting .068. They need an Adam Wainwright. See what Wainwright accomplished yesterday? His third 3 RBI game of the season. First pitcher to do that since Tim Lawler in 1984.
Tim Lawler could hit.
He was with the Padres. And again, lifts one to left, and Cespedes is right there. That retires the side, so Montero works around yet another walk. 8 walks in 7 innings as a starter, still no runs. Best sports writers react to tomorrow's Mets-Reds game, plus a preview of the Jets and Giants as they get ready to kick off their season. Daily News Live presented by Citi tomorrow at 5, only on SNY. River boats moving down the Ohio River. Very placid river today. It was a warm and humid afternoon. You can hear the river lapping against the shore.
Very nice. Between the trucks and the Land Rovers and now the water.
We're the kings of sound. What'd they call it? The Syndicate of Sound?
Syndicate of Sound.
Yeah.
There you go.
Here's Reyes, who walked leading off the game. Corners in against Jose. And Finnegan misses outside for ball one.
You tend to forget yesterday's game was in peril for a long time. Only 2-0 lead for the Mets. And then they added some runs later.
Thought the starter for the Reds, Robert Stevenson, looked pretty good.
I thought he looked good too.
I mean, the Reds have a lot of hope in their pitching staff now.
That's drilled to deep left field, right down the line. Reyes toward the pole, and it's out of here. Reyes keeps it fair down the left field line for his 5th home run of the year. And the Mets strike again with the long ball. It's 2-0 New York.
I'm not sure I've ever seen Reyes hit a ball that far.
Or it's certainly not that high.
I mean, that was a majestic home run by Reyes.
You know, Gary, I was watching Reyes in batting practice today, and he put on a display of power like you've never seen. Upper tank home runs, and he carries it into the game.
4 of his 5 home runs have come as a right-hand batter. Finnegan's now given up 29 of them. And now Cabrera with a big cut, 0-1.
That's that changeup that cut back to the inside corner from Finnegan. Didn't stay away and down. And day off works for Mr. Reyes.
Snapped an 0 for 11 stretch with that home run.
Yeah, he just kind of pulled that changeup back over the inside corner.
So the Mets with a couple of solo home runs from Granderson and Reyes to jump in front. Well, the Mets have won 62 games this year when they hit a home run. They've won 10 games this year when they don't hit a home run.
10-30, right?
So the offense predicated on the long ball, and the long ball has showed up again tonight. And Cabrera strikes out on a breaking ball in the dirt. Second strikeout of the night for Finnegan, and the first out of the inning.
So this game having the same feel as yesterday's game when Reynolds and Johnson hit solo home runs.
Now Cespedes has struck out his first time up.
So Finnegan goes from one of the biggest parks in all of baseball, Kansas City, to one of the smallest.
It was 2 years ago today that Brandon Finnegan made his major league debut for the Royals, less than 3 months after being drafted out of TCU. He probably would not have gotten to the big leagues that fast, except the summer before he was drafted. He played for Team USA, where he was a teammate of Carlos Rodon, who was pitching for NC State at the time. And Rodon taught Finnegan his slider. And it was that slider that helped him get to the big leagues.
You know, Finnegan, one of the few to pitch in the College World Series and then appear in the World Series in the same year.
The only one to do it in the same year. Yeah. Michael Conforto did both, but not in the same year. Michael was in the Little League World Series too. Did you see the photos of him, by the way, during the Little League World Series from his 12-year-old year?
I did. Everyone looks cute at 12, don't they?
Not all of us.
That was a bad year for you?
I didn't think I grew my hair so long.
My bad year was 6. That's the first year my dad took me to get the black rimmed glasses. Yeah, that hurt you. Hurt your style in the first grade.
I had age 5. I had the tortoiseshell glasses. Yeah. So we were in the same boat. Cespedes fouls it off, 3-2.
There's a little guy with his eye black, Cincinnati red eye black.
That's will be giving out David Wright eye black.
I saw that
on the next homestand.
David's been in town the last couple of days, right?
Well, you know why, right?
No.
Well, it's that time of year. Cespedes pops it up. And Votto waiting for it to come down. 2 out. The Mets had a night off last night since the head of day game, which meant that last night represented the perfect opportunity for the Mets team to get together for their annual fantasy football draft.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Which David is the ringleader
like
of.
The commissioner?
Yeah, I think he's somewhere above commissioner.
Oh, yes. David's going to be going to Los Angeles soon, right, to see his doctor.
His neck specialist.
Yep.
Yeah. He's been progressing, and he's just waiting for the go-ahead to do a little more activity. Meanwhile, there's stirring in Florida. Word that Lucas Duda's taking some batting practice, and there's at least a hope that he might be available sometime before the end of the season. And Juan Lagares is doing some running, nothing with the thumb yet. But you could imagine, I don't know if the Mets have thought about this, but if Lagares is able to run, maybe you could activate him as a pinch runner.
And just wear something protective over his hand, right, to protect it.
The oven mitt.
The oven mitt.
The oven mitt has become rather ubiquitous in baseball.
That's right.
Now.
Do you remember the day when runners would hold their batting gloves in each hand to make sure they had a fist when they slid?
Well, as long as you're sliding feet first and you don't drag your hand, you should be okay. 1-2 to Flores, who fouled out his first time up, and he takes the changeup away. Only Verizon makes Tuesday Night Baseball better by rewarding their customers with exclusive ballpark access and experiences. Visit sny.tv/Verizon to learn how you can get access and rewards like these lucky fans. Matt Adams has added a home run in Pittsburgh. 5-0 Cardinals in the third. The Pirates have fallen to 4.5 off the pace in the wild card. Miami to 5 out. And right now it's looking like 3 teams for 2 spots, although that can change.
Yeah.
Giants, Cardinals, Mets. That just missed. Finnegan very unhappy.
You know what's interesting about Finnegan, Gary, is that he throws hard, but not hard enough to blow it past hitters. So I think in the winter, if he can work on a little two-seamer, maybe to get some ground balls, limit his pitches per inning, that would really help.
3-2 to Wilmer, and he hits a ground ball right at Cozart. And that ends the inning, but Jose Reyes expands the Mets lead. 5th home run of the year right down the line. And the Mets lead 2-0 in the third. Cincinnati Mets with a 2-0 lead. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs, whose report tonight is brought to you by Fidelis Care. Steve?
Gary, one of the things that Rafael Montero, or really any other pitcher for that matter who's coming up from the minors, has to contend with is a different type of baseball. Across the board, speaking with numerous pitchers, they say that there are 3 major differences between the baseballs at the major league level and the ones at the minor league level. For one, the seams are more raised at the minor league level, making the ball a little bit easier to grip. Also, up here, the balls feel a lot more tightly wound, so they actually go, according to pitchers, a little bit further. And finally, they're a lot smoother up here, probably newer in some cases, so it takes some scuffing up of the baseball. The best way it was described to me was by Seth Lugo, who said it's almost like the difference between throwing a cue ball and throwing a tennis ball.
Well, I think one of the issues you have in the major leagues is that every ball that touches the ground is thrown out of play. So you're working with a new ball almost all the time. You know, there was a time when you used to pitch, and let's say you were pitching against a guy that wasn't, let's say, cheating a little bit on the mound. You would have the same ball that he would use the inning prior. If a ball was hit on the ground, if it was scuffed in the right area and you knew what to do with it, you would keep it and use that.
Peraza takes strike 3 called, and there's the 3rd strikeout for Montero, all on called 3rd strikes.
One thing you used to be able to do too, Gary, which was a lot of fun, is that in the day it wasn't like a cue ball, so you could kind of like pick at the seams and you could raise them a little bit, and when you raised them it gave you a better grip for your breaking ball. So all of those things were things that you would try to do to the baseball, manipulate it to give you a better feel.
I'd like to go back to the initial premise, though. Why in the world does Major League Baseball allow the minor leagues to use a different baseball than is used in the major leagues?
It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, it should be uniform, so when the young players come up, young pitchers come up, there's no transition time for them.
Steve, do you have any insight on this? Is it a different company that makes the balls? Is it a lower quality of ball? Do we know why there's a different baseball in the minor leagues?
You know, Gary, I'm not sure of the answer to that, and it's something that I can probably look into here over the next couple of weeks. But the one thing that I heard from guys too is that, and this probably goes back to Ronnie's point, it's just more consistent up here. So you do wonder if a lot of those baseballs just keep getting reused at the minor league level, and so it changes that way as well.
Yeah, fiscal stuff, right? The economics of minor league baseball.
Kozar took a call 3rd strike his first time, and Montero misses high 3-1.
I know the Japanese pitchers, it takes them some time because the American baseball is a little larger than the Japanese baseball.
Well, Ron, I thought it was interesting too. Seth Lugo said the other day he actually got a blister in his palm because he was trying to rub the baseball down so much every time he got a new one.
Kozar hooks one down the left field line right toward the pole, and a foul ball. So Kozar hitting it right in the same area where Reyes hit his, but just a few feet further to the left, much to the appreciation of Montero.
Just a little in front. And Kozart's got some pop. His 16 home runs were a career high for him, and he just misses wrapping it around the foul pole. The one last thing about the baseballs is that, you know, sometimes I do those reports out of the bullpen for our opens, and I examined or touched some of the baseballs that they use out there. They are the same ones that are going to be used in the game, or rubbed up the same way as Kozart walks. And they are not rubbed up the same way as it was in my day. They used to really put a lot of mud on them, make them very, very dark, which made them easier to grip. So it goes back to what Lugo says. Not as much mud on them. They're more like a cue ball.
Do we know why they don't use as much mud?
I don't. I didn't ask. You'd get a ball to start a warm-up, and you'd look at it and go, geez, this is almost black, this ball. All of those were very, very white.
Of course, every Major League Baseball is rubbed with the special mud that they get out of, where is it, the Delaware Valley somewhere?
It used to be, yeah. I don't know where it is now.
And it used to be that the umpires would rub up the balls themselves. Now it's usually the attendant in the umpire's room who does the rubbing of the baseballs. And they'll rub up 6, 7 dozen before the game. Probably more now since they take more balls out of play.
There was a time where, because you got to know all the umpires, no interleague play in my day, where you could get a ball and I could probably tell you what umpire's behind the plate. By the way, it was rubbed up.
1-1 to Votto, who got a base hit through the empty shortstop hole his first time up. And taking off early is Cozart, and no chance for d'Arnaud. Cozart got a 7-step jump before Montero came out of his stretch. We've seen this happen a bunch of times where if somebody yells at the pitch for him to step off, then Cozart's a dead duck.
I don't know why the Mets haven't done it, although that timing would have been tough. But once he started to take that extra step, that's when everyone on the field should be yelling step off.
4th stolen base of the year for Cozart. So a runner in scoring position for Votto with 1 out. And it's outside 2-2.
And we talked about there's some inexperience over there on the right side with Reynolds. He's a middle infielder, though, should handle second base well, but Wilmer at first.
Adam Duvall, the cleanup hitter, on deck. Montero's already walked 3. Very similar to his last start against Miami. Votto slaps one down to third. Reyes checks the runner and gets the out, 2 away. So Votto continuing to try to hit that ball through the mostly open left side, but that time hit it right at Reyes. By the way, before that at bat, Votto, since the All-Star break, was hitting .428. There have been only 3 players in history hit over .420 after the All-Star game. Ted Williams, 1957.
Wow.
Ichiro Suzuki, the year he set the hits record in 2004, and George Brett in 1980. Only 3 players have ever hit .420 since after the All-Star break, and Votto should be at .427 now after that at bat.
Brett hit .390 for the season that year.
0-1 to Duvall, who walked his first time up. But with that out made by Votto, opponents against the Mets are hitless in their last 27 at bats with runners in scoring position, including 0 for 2 tonight. That's cracked to deep right field. Back goes Bruce, looking up, and it's out of here. Adam Duvall ties the game with an opposite field 2-run homer, his 30th home run of the season. Well, it's been a big year for Adam Duvall, his first All-Star season, and now a 30 home run season.
You know, I knew he had power to left field. I didn't know he had this much power to right. That ball's right on the outside corner, and he drives it into the first row or off the top of the fence.
Well, the Mets have taken advantage of that right center field porch in this series 3 separate times, and now the Reds get the benefit of it as well. And this game is tied at 2.
Duvall puts himself amongst some of the best Reds to play left field.
Well, Montero had been living right. A walk per inning or more in his 2 starts finally pays for it. One to Brandon Phillips, who flied out to center his first time up, and goes after the slider. 1-2. By the way, that snap, that 0 for 27 stretch,
Kill the graphic.
happens every time. And Montero comes back to strike out Phillips with a fastball. 4th strikeout for Montero. Game tied at 2. by the 2017 Audi A4 in your tri-state Audi dealers. 2-2 game as we start the fourth. Jay Bruce will lead off for the Mets against Brandon Finnegan. Mets with a pair of solo home runs from Granderson and Reyes. Reds tied on a 2-run shot by Adam Duvall, and so we start fresh. Bruce popped up to short his first time up. Breaking ball in for a strike, 0-1. Well, it was only a matter of time if Rafael Montero was going to keep walking a batter an inning.
Yeah.
And at some point it was going to cost him. He was able to get through 5 innings that way against the Marlins at no cost. And it finally caught up to him in the last half inning. Ball and a strike to Bruce. Travis d'Arnaud on deck, then Curtis Granderson for the Mets in the fourth. Finnegan's thrown a lot of pitches early in this game. He's walked 2 in his own right. As we mentioned, leading the league in home runs allowed and right near the league lead in walks allowed. And he's allowed 2 of each.
I mean, I think it's great that Gazelman and Lugo have won their starts, Montero, but really they're out there to give the Mets team a chance to win, and that the offense will take charge at some point in the game. You know, 6 innings, 2-3 runs, that's fine.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
And you know, now with the reinforcements, not only as Bruce strikes out on the fastball, and he knew it. Third strikeout for Finnegan, 1 out of the 4th. With the reinforcements now, as you look at the Pirates trying to fight back against the Cardinals, they were down 5-0. Now it's 5-2. The Mets not only have a thicker bench, they've got 11 men on the bench, but they also have a lot more arms in the bullpen. They've got a dozen arms out in the bullpen, so they should have enough to go to that you can survive if your starter gives you, you know, 5 1/3 innings, something like that. And d'Arnaud takes a slider for a strike. Travis grounded out to first base his first time up. You know, you're allowed to bring up everybody on your 40-man roster when September 1st arrives. As d'Arnaud spins out of the way, 1-1. And with the call-ups today, the Mets basically have.
Yes.
They have 37 players on the 40-man roster who are not on the disabled list. The other 3 are Juan Lagares, Steven Matz, and John Neese. That's the 40-man roster. So everybody who is not on the DL is now here. Now, if they were to activate Duda, who's on the 60-day DL, so his number doesn't count against the 40-man roster, if he were to be activated somewhere down the road, somebody would have to be taken off the 40-man roster to make room.
Wow.
So all those things go into the considerations.
Well, the easier part is that all the players other than Gavin Cecchini have been up with the big league club this year.
Just off the corner, 2-2 to d'Arnaud.
Finnegan does not like that Nick Lentz is not giving him that low fastball for a strike.
It is quite a turnabout, though, and obviously everybody operates under the same rules in September because you can go anywhere from 25 to 40 with your roster. But for a team that has played with a short bench so often this year, I mean, there were times last week when the Mets basically had a 1 or 2 man bench because of injuries and because of the configuration of the roster, and now Terry Collins has an 11-man bench, so it's quite a difference, all in one fell swoop.
Well, you're covered for the 16, 17 inning games, certainly.
All the double switches you could possibly want. And d'Arnaud strikes out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Finnegan to start the 4th inning. His 4th of the night.
You know, Gary, as far as first the pitch to d'Arnaud, well spotted inside by Finnegan. As far as the pitchers are concerned in the bullpen, there's 2 or 3 guys out there who really are not going to pitch in a game unless the side is, you know, one-sided score one way or the other.
Here's Granderson, who homered to open the scoring tonight. Granderson's home run was his 24th of the year, his 5th against a left-hand pitcher. it is.
Trying to go away. Left it up in the strike zone. And one of the rare home runs you'll see from Curtis Granderson on a high pitch. But he's so hot now, he's hitting everything.
Interesting. I was reading today about Brian Dozier, the second baseman for the Twins, who had 3 home runs yesterday, has 38 for the year. All but 3 have come in the upper third of the strike zone. And the Mets, of course, will see Dozier on the next homestand. So that should provide a scouting report.
So as more pitches are called up in the strike zone and more pitchers are going up there to try to exploit it against certain hitters, the guys like Brian Dozier, you can't.
Just keep it at the knees. Matt Reynolds would be next. Finnegan behind on Granderson, 3-1. He's already walked 2 tonight. And he gets that call on the corner. 3-2.
The Minnesota team has been one of the disappointments. Finished second in the division last year. They're last this year. Diamondbacks, disappointment. The Angels.
Well, Dozier's been the bright light for the Twins. His 38 home runs, the most for a Minnesota Twin since Harmon Killebrew in 1970. And you've been mentioning it a lot. The offensive output by so many second basemen this year.
It's off the charts. You know, of course, the Mets fan know about the Murph
and Walker,
but Altuve.
His ball 4 to Granderson. 3rd walk for Finnegan. I mean, Altuve is having an MVP caliber season for the Astros.
I wrote them down here. Pedroia's having a good year, a better year. Scope. Kinsler is someone you don't talk about. Kipnis. Rougned Odor with the year he's having in Texas.
And DJ LeMahieu's leading the National League in batting, and the list goes on. Here's Reynolds, who walked his first time up. So each starting pitcher has walked 3 already in this game. We're only in the top of the 4th. Reynolds 3 hits yesterday. Drove in 2 runs, including his 3rd home run of the year. Reynolds has now hit more home runs in the major leagues this year than he did in 71 games for Las Vegas.
And the ball jumps there, right, in Vegas?
You know what it is? It's the red eyes. That's Terry Collins' theory. Took a red eye, joined the Mets game against the Yankees, hit a home run right off the plane. Did it again yesterday. Final game of this series tomorrow afternoon. Early day game starts at 12:35, so our coverage begins at 12 noon. Noah Syndergaard against the best the Reds can send out there, Anthony DeSclafani, who's been terrific for Cincinnati. And in a rare event, we will try and squeeze all 3 of us into this small little workspace at Great American Ballpark. Yes, Keith will be here tomorrow afternoon.
I go back to my monkey in the middle position.
There's no high chair here, Ronnie. you have to stay in line.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad, except Keith just spreads out. He takes up so much room.
So there's room for me and there's room for Ronnie. So where's Keith going to go?
Don't worry, he'll find a place.
He always does. If not, we can help him move.
I'm sure he's here already. Maybe he's checking out the game.
Maybe. Reynolds takes a big rip. 3-2.
Both pitchers have been a lot of 3-2 counts, behind hitters. That's why you have 3 home runs already.
Votto's going to keep holding Granderson even as he gets set to take off with 3-2 and 2 out, leaving that right side hole open for Reynolds. And Reynolds goes down on strikes to end the inning. 3 strikeouts in that 4th inning for Brandon Finnegan. 2-2 in Cincinnati. A little neon necessary to convey the emotion.
Broadway guy.
Marquee.
Times Square guy.
Home 4th inning. Scott Schebler leads off against Rafael Montero and hits a comebacker past Montero, but right to Reyes playing behind the bag. That's a 5-3 put out, 1 pitch and 1 out. Well, tomorrow or this weekend in Atlanta, Seth Lugo will get his next start, and he spoke earlier today with Steve Gelb. Steve?
All right, Garrett, thanks a lot. Seth, when you look at this start to your major league career, why do you think you've been able to have such success?
I think just challenging the hitters, helping out the most. Not being afraid out there, making sure I'm not walking anybody and pitching to contact.
Is that something that, for some young pitchers it's tough to do? Why has that not been difficult for you to do here?
Well, at first it kind of was tough. When I went back to AAA, I thought that I got sent down because I was pitching away from guys, and just told myself, if I get another chance, I'm not going to do that again. I'm just going to go after everybody.
We see that curveball. What do you think makes that curve so effective when you throw it?
Well, location helps. I don't know. I think whenever I throw it, I try to make it look like I'm coming at him with a fastball, so just a little deception.
Everybody talks about the spin rate. Do you have any idea why your ball spins so much more than everybody else's?
I mean, I got some guesses, but honestly, I got no idea why it's like that.
What's your best guess?
I've been throwing it longer than most people throw curveballs.
Does that something that you pay attention to, though? Is the spin rate something that is interesting to you?
Hey, it's interesting. It's fun to look at, but when it comes down to working on it and trying to command it, I don't think about stuff like that. Just try to throw it where I want, really. Seth,
appreciate a couple of minutes. Good luck here moving forward.
Thanks a lot.
Gary, back to you.
Pride of Shreveport, Louisiana, Seth Lugo. Thanks to him and thanks to Steve Gelb. The spin rate thing is fascinating, and it's drawn a lot of attention because he's, 3,300 RPM. Nobody else is over 3,000, so he's by far and away got the most spin on his curve. It's grounded down to third, and Reyes to his left gets to it and throws out De Jesus for the second out. What does that end up meaning in the the idea is to get people out.
Yes,
Does the spin rate matter in that?
Well, I think the spin rate can matter. In fact, when Seth was talking about it there, you know, if he was having trouble with his curveball, he could go and see what the spin rate is, if it's changed at all, to try to change his pitch. I think having that basic physical ability to be able to spin it like that is fantastic. Getting it in the strike zone is important. And also the disparity of spin rates. If you're a really accomplished pitcher, you'll have it right up and down that spin rate dial so that you can deceive the hitter not only with the break but also with the speed.
Well, so far so good for Seth, who has been so important to this run that the Mets have been on. Never better than in his start on Sunday night against the Nationals.
Well, that was the I was listening to that game on the radio, and it was just so interesting. It was like the tale of two games for Seth Lugo. What, the 47 pitches in the first 2 innings, and then so economical the rest of the way.
Well, and that's part of what Steve was talking about with Seth. I mean, he got into a huge jam in that first inning. Bases loaded, 1 out, was able to escape with only 1 run, scoring through a lot of pitches. Gave up a home run the next inning to Espinosa, and then basically gave up nothing the rest of the way. Tucker Barnhart takes up and away, and now Montero finds himself behind in the count again against the number 8 hitter whom he walked his first time up.
And won't that be really what we're watching for in September, Gary, is that all of these young pitchers have done a great job of pitching out of jams. Will they be able to continue to do so?
Reynolds throws out Barnhart. Montero has his first 1-2-3 inning. That sends us off to the 5th at Great American Ballpark, with the Mets and Reds still tied at 2. Two-0 lead, but Adam Duvall's 2-run homer in the 3rd tied it up against Rafael Montero, and we're 2-2 as we go to the 5th, and Montero will lead off.
There's a couple of things to watch when you see Montero's motion. One is where his head will end up over his front leg, and the front leg after it straightens out here and it is in a bent position. Both of those things are real good. The head location over the knee is great. That means he's getting out in front. And the bent knee is great because it takes a lot of stress off your back and your arm when you can land with a bent leg as opposed to that stiff front leg. Well taught.
Now Montero will get his 2nd at bat. He flied out his first time up. Now 0 for 15 in his big league career. So we mentioned earlier that the Marlins had activated Giancarlo Stanton from the disabled list, but we weren't sure whether he'd actually be able to play. Well, they just used him as a pinch hitter and he got a hit.
Okay, he's ready.
But he ran very slowly to first base. Remember, he's coming back from a serious groin injury, and they took him out for a pinch runner. So basically, he's back to swing the bat, and that's about it.
One thing hasn't changed. The Marlins are losing.
It's been a very rough stretch for them. They've lost 9 of 10 to fall to the brink of out of it, which I'm sure is why they activated Stanton. Under other circumstances, they might have waited.
Other than Yelich, that entire offense went cold at the same time.
2-2 to Montero. You saw the Reds had their bullpen up. 90 pitches now for Finnegan. As we noted, he has not thrown 100 pitches in a game since June. They've been very judicious with his pitch counts in his first full year as a big league starter. On the corner, and Montero caught looking. That's 6 strikeouts now for Finnegan.
You know, Finnegan's a very talented pitcher, Gary, but he really is going to have to look at his season this winter and kind of figure out the game is only at 100 pitches. So he's going to have to change to today's game because the game's not going to change for him. At least figure out how to get through 6 with 100.
Now Reyes, who homered his last time up. And Finnegan keeps the ball away from him. Ball 1. Jose now with 5 home runs this year, more than he had all of last year with Toronto and Colorado. And in far fewer plate appearances.
I'm really surprised at how much he's maintained a lot of that athleticism. It's going to be.
That's pulled through a hole, and Reyes is on base for the 3rd straight time. So Terry Collins went to him on Sunday, said, "You're going to get Monday off." Reyes protested. Terry sat him anyway, and Reyes has come back strong tonight.
Well, just a breaking ball down. See right-handed how well he's been staying back, especially since coming off the DL.
So a walk, a home run, now a hard hit single for Reyes. He's aboard with 1 out. And now it's Drupal Cabrera. Cabrera has fouled out to first and struck out 0 for 2.
You know, Gary, Terry Collins made an interesting point about 2 weeks ago. He said the thing that he has noticed as a manager the last few seasons is how important it is to get rest for your everyday players. That's something you didn't think about 20, 25 years ago, but that's so important in the game today.
Well, I wonder how much of that is self-inflicted.
Oh, yeah.
Players do so much more work and are at the ballpark so many more hours than they used to be. You have to wonder whether that drains them and makes them less able to play every day. Reyes takes off, and it can't be handled by Barnhart. It's a stolen base for Reyes, his 7th of the year.
There's no chance Barnhart was going to be able to throw him out anyway. He had a fantastic jump, did Reyes. Kind of went on first movement from Finnegan. It's a 50-50 proposition. 100% on the steal.
14 stolen base Finnegan's given up this year. So now the tie-breaking run is at second with 1 out. I mean, there are a lot of factors in, why players seem to need more rest now. Travel is worse than ever. You've got a schedule that's more compacted, it seems. They took the amphetamines out of the game a few years ago, which was a tool that some players had to be able to play every day. But there's no question that players do more work away from the field and spend more time in the ballpark than they ever have. That's lined the other way, but foul. And you have to think that that catches up, especially with the everyday players at some point during the season.
Well, you know what's interesting, and the Mets did it recently, where players are given kind of a mental day of relaxation. Jay Bruce got that. Justin Upton just got that with the Tigers.
And it's come back very strong. Upton's been red hot the last couple of weeks. And Cabrera bounces one to short. Cozart in to get it. Reyes thought about breaking for third, but then thought better of it. And that's the second out. It's the kind of play where Reyes, back in his prime, would have timed it and tried to break for third on the throw, but it just wasn't available to him there.
You know, you were talking about how much of that is self-inflicted. You know what's interesting, unless you're a superstar like Cespedes, who hit on the field for one of the first times in a long time, I think it would be hard if you came up to the major leagues and were kind of a radical, a renegade, and would show up at 4:30, 5 o'clock ready to play.
Well, certainly there's an enormous amount of peer pressure on the younger players to do as the older players have done, and there's been a radical shift in the approach and what's standard now for players in terms of their game preparation.
I mean, on days on the road when I was pitching, I would take the team bus at 4 o'clock to the game, and Keith would be on that. A lot of players would be on that bus each and every time. You never see an everyday player on the 4 o'clock bus. I don't even think they have a 4 o'clock bus anymore.
Not that late. Most of the ball players are in the ballpark at 1:30. Sometimes earlier than that.
And that was self-inflicted by me because I did not want to be at the ballpark at 2 o'clock before start. You just mentally get so tired from hanging out at the same place for that long before you start. So I take the bus. That way, by the time I get there, start your work, it's almost time to go.
Now, in fairness, the clubhouses are a lot nicer places to be now. They're much more luxurious. There's usually somebody cooking for the players, so they can have, you know, if necessary, breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. So that's part of it as well.
Yeah, they're nice places to be for the most part.
That between the weight room and the extra swings in the batting cage and all the things that players do now, which they didn't do 30 years ago, it's obviously changed some things. Cespedes will get intentional ball 4, and so the Mets have 2 on and 2 out, and Flores coming up.
And then when I first got traded to the Oakland Athletics, is the first time that I saw, as a team, guys getting up early and at 10 o'clock going to the gym to lift weights from 10 to 11, 11:30.
Smattering of Mets fans getting a chant going. Wilmer Flores 0 for 2 today. He's fouled out and grounded out. Here's Finnegan, over 100 pitches for the first time since June. 2 on and 2 out, and Flores nubs one foul. Wilmer came into the day hitting .340 against lefties this year, with 10 home runs in 94 at bats. Phenomenal numbers against left-handed pitching, and a chance to do damage here with 2 on and 2 out in a tie game in the 5th inning. It's lifted foul. And that'll go out of play, 0-2. By the way, has it escaped your notice that twice now during the series the people in charge of the music here have played the Friends theme? They obviously got word.
Yes, they did. Well, it's all over the place now, right? You showed me something today that was hilarious. I don't know even what you call that. Parody, I guess.
There's a video that reworked the Friends video intro and included Wilmer. He's now an official friend. He takes one the other way, but grabbed by Votto to end the inning. The former Gold Glover making a nice diving grab to save Finnegan and keep this game tied. Joey Votto with the leather denies Flores. tuned to SNY for a complete game breakdown with behind-the-scenes access, player reactions, and Todd Bowles' post-game comments on Jets Post-Game Live, presented by Toyota, Sunday immediately after the Jets-Bengals game, only on SNY. Hernan Iribarren, pinch hitting for the Reds, tripled in yesterday's game against Bartolo Colon, and goes after the changeup by Montero, a ball and a strike.
And Bart did a great job 2 times in his 6 innings, stranding a runner at third. No outs. Iribarren was at third and never came in.
Well, he could have scored on a fly ball by Peraza that followed, but declined to try on the ball hit to Bruce in right field, and that's laced into left center, and Iribarren's got himself another extra base hit as that rolls to the wall. It sticks there for a moment, and Iribarren's going to try for another triple, and he makes it safely. How about that? He had not had a triple in his entire major league career. He had one yesterday as a pinch hitter, and now he has another.
And they can't many people in the game 2 successive pinch hit triples on successive days. Well, yesterday's was to right center, and this one is to left center. Hit over 300 in Louisville for the farm team of the Reds. And what happens to this ball? It gets stuck against the fence. See how it rattles around? And by the time Granderson gets to it, Iribarren's on third.
So the tie-breaking run at third with nobody out. Can Montero do what Colon did?
He really thought it was just going to be a double. Kind of slows up and then gets it started again.
Before Sunday, he had not had a hit in the big league since 2009. Now he's got 2 more hits in this series, his first 2 big league triples. Peraza's 0 for 2 today, fly deep to left and took a call third strike. Mets have the infield back. They'll concede the go-ahead run on a ground ball. And Peraza hits the runner in foul territory, so it's a foul ball, but a painful one for Iribarren. You take your lead in foul territory because if you get hit in fair territory, it's an out.
Oh, was he mad?
It still hurts just as much in foul territory.
Did you see him? He was yelling at the hitter. How about getting out of the way? I mean, usually you can get out of the way. Knocked him. You know what, over tea kettle.
It got him on the foot.
It did.
Not as bad as it would have been if it hit him in the shin or something like that.
And then when he got up, he yelled at Peraza, hit it fair. What?
He's probably just fooling around. I hope. That's pulled down to third, and this one stays fair, and Iribarren will have to stay put. Well, they avoided getting hit by this one. That's the first out. That's funny. It's almost like Peraza was aiming for him again after Iribarren gave him the business. So now 1 away. Zach Cozart, the batter. Cozart walked, stole a base, and scored in front of Adam Duvall's tying 2-run homer. Mets going to bring the infield in now with 1 out. Cozart takes below the knees for ball 1.
Cozart, who walked in his last at bat, but hit a long line drive that was just foul that had home run distance.
Second straight hitter now. Montero's behind 2-0.
See the batting gloves in the left hand of Iribarren. Now 1 in each hand. Form a fist.
So no oven mitt necessary.
No. Much better look, personally.
3-0 now to Cozart, with Joey Votto standing on deck. Let's have the bullpen cranking. There's a strike, 3-1. Josh Edgin just back from Vegas today. Gabriel Noah, who hasn't pitched in 10 days, both up in the Mets bullpen. Three and one to Cozart with a runner at third and one out. And that's inside, ball four. The fourth walk given up by Montero. The second time he's walked Cozart. And now Joey Votto will hit. Who will he face? Terry Collins heading out to the mound. And he's going to go to the left hand. So that's going to be all for Montero after 4 1/3. Leaves in a 2-2 game, but a precarious one. And Josh Edgin will come in to face Joey Votto with runners at first and third. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Edgin makes his way in. We'll be right back to Cincinnati. Minor league set to face Joey Votto in a big spot.
Well, the numbers aren't pretty. The Jeep numbers only 3 2/3 innings, but in a small sample size, lefties 0 for 4 against Josh.
Votto 1 for 2 tonight, and he fouls off the first pitch. 0-1. Votto is singled through the shortstop hole and grounded out to third. Ira Barron at third base from where he hasn't moved in 2 days. And Cozart at first with 1 out. And that's whacked to right field. Right at Bruce. Ira Barron tags. This time he's going to challenge him. And Bruce's throw comes up short, and the Reds have the lead.
Well, if I were the Mets, I would check at third base. I thought Ira Barron left a little early, but nice hitting by Votto. Let's see if I was right or wrong. Line out to Bruce. Remember, he didn't score yesterday, so he wanted to make sure he got a good jump. And no, he was on the base.
So a sac fly for Votto. His 80th RBI gives the Reds their first lead of this series.
Well, Votto just choked up, wanted to make contact, and made enough of it.
Edgin will leave. Gabriel Noah will come in. Another pitching change for the Mets. 3-2 Cincinnati in the 5th. We'll be right back. Gabriel Ynoa makes his 4th big league appearance, comes in to face Adam Duvall with a run home here in the 5th.
Ynoa made his big league debut approximately 3 weeks ago. Those Jeep numbers, gave up 4 runs in his last 2 innings of work, but got picked up the win in his first appearance.
Exclusively a starter in Vegas this year, 25 starts, exclusively a reliever so far in the big leagues, has not thrown a pitch anywhere in 10 days. Duvall tied the game with a 2-run homer his last time up, and he takes a strike from Ynoa. That's at a 2-0 lead in this game. Duvall tied it. The triple by Iribarren, and then the sac fly by Votto left Rafael Montero's line thus: 3 runs, 3 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts over 4 1/3. Still responsible for the runner at first base. Ynoa, 23 years old, native of the Dominican Republic. Duvall's home run was his 30th of the year. He's now driven in 87. And he takes a rip. 0-2.
A good sinking fastball there from Ynoa. That's the fastball from Montero that Duvall hit over the right center field fence. Decent pitch from Montero, a little up. Duvall made him pay for his 30th.
Oh, the way we were talking about Brian Dozier earlier, 39th today. What a force.
25 in the second half.
How
now?
about this? Dozier has 25 since the All-Star break. Bryce Harper has 23 all year. Did you have that in the pool?
No, you didn't.
Oh, and 2 to Duvall. Brandon Phillips would be next. Cozart a healthy lead, and Ynoa continues to work on him. Better throw, might have had him that time. The Giants are underway in their game in Colorado. No score in the second. It's a game and a half behind the Giants. A game behind the Cardinals. Cardinals are just fell behind. Pirates took the lead 6-5. How about that? That's outside. Pirates were down 5-0. Jung Ho Gong just back off the DL homered. And the Pirates, with 4 runs home in the bottom of the 5th, now lead the Cardinals 6-5.
Wow. I saw a stat today. Kansas City had 16 hits on Monday. The San Francisco Giants have 16 hits in September.
1-2 coming. And Duvall strikes out to end the inning. Good job by Ynoa. Got him with a slider. But the Reds take the lead. Iribarren triples and scores on Votto's sac fly through 2 Reds after 5. Here's our Verizon trivia question for today. Which 3 players have 40 or more career home runs against the Reds and have played for the Mets? Players who have 40 or more career home runs against the Reds and have played at some point for the Mets. 24-year-old Michael Lorenzen out of the Reds bullpen.
Well, one of their talented arms out of that bullpen. Lorenzen started 21 games for this team last year.
Jay Bruce greets him with a base hit the other way. And it's booted out in left field by Duvall, and Bruce heads for second. So just like that, the Mets have the tying run in scoring position with nobody out. A base hit for Bruce, an error on Duvall, and the Mets get a little break.
Well, this fastball left up in the zone by Lorenzen, and Bruce does a nice job of just going the other way. See, he stepped back and played it off to the side. That's why he missed it. You just got to stay square up and take it right off your chest. That way it stays in front of you.
Duvall is a defensively challenged player. I think that's the kind way of saying it.
Lenny Dykstra used to say, doesn't dig the leather, man.
You know what Keith would say? Say he was a 4.
Boy, that's right. In his game.
Stratomatic. Here's Travis d'Arnaud, 0 for 2. Tying run at second and nobody out. And Travis takes a fastball strike. Travis is grounded out to first and struck out. So Brandon Finnegan went 5 innings. Allowed 2 runs and 3 hits. In line for his 8th win of the year. He walked 4, 1 intentionally, struck out 6, and allowed 2 home runs. 1-1 to d'Arnaud. Michael Lorenzen lost his dad just a couple of weeks ago. Returned to the Reds, came on in relief, and hit a home run off the bench. It was an incredibly emotional moment for Lorenzen and for his entire team, which knew exactly what the circumstances were.
You know, when you see Michael on the mound, he looks like he's built like an everyday player. Well, when he was at Cal State Fullerton, he was. He played the outfield and pitched.
He was a .250 lifetime hitter in the big leagues, but that was his first major league home run.
You can tell he throws a spike curveball. That's what he has as he waits for the call from the catcher.
He also has a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. We saw him last year as a starting pitcher, one of the many rookies. I think the Reds used rookie starting pitchers for 110 games last year. Now in his second season, moved to the bullpen, and in here in a big spot, trying to protect a 1-run lead, and d'Arnaud has to turn out of the way of that fastball, and it's 3-2.
Well, Lorenzen, you can get some length from him. 9 times he's pitched 2 innings or more. #1 pick in 2013.
So Finnegan, who was a #1 pick in 2014 by the Royals, started the game, and now Lorenzen, who was a #1 pick a year earlier, in relief. And d'Arnaud takes strike 3 called. Now looking at a cutter. Just a little cut on that fastball by Lorenzen to fool d'Arnaud and get the strikeout.
It's one of those pitches he started right at him, and it bent over the inside part of the plate, got the call from Lentz.
So 1 out now. Granderson.
Just a little spinner on the inside part, but I think caught plenty of plate.
I think it just surprised d'Arnaud. He thought that ball was going to keep riding in. Granderson homered back in the second, walked in the fourth, and he takes a fastball strike. Kelly Johnson is out on deck to bat for Matt Reynolds, who is the right-hand pitcher in the game. Bruce at second and 1 out. And Granderson hits one slowly foul.
It's interesting, isn't it, Gary? You draft a young pitcher with anticipation that he's going to be in your starting rotation, but like Kimbrel for the Braves, sometimes you identify these guys as relievers earlier in their career and let them go.
He's ahead on Granderson 0-2, and that one bounces away from Barnhart up on the screen, and Bruce goes to third. Or did it hit Granderson?
Yeah, it hit Granderson.
Hit him on the foot. So Bruce has to go back to second, and Granderson on base, hit by the pitch.
Right off the top of the back foot of Granderson, right off the toe.
So now the Mets with 2 aboard and 1 out, and Kelly Johnson to pinch hit. Kelly started yesterday at third base at his 10th home run of the year. Been quite a stretch for Kelly Johnson. He has had innumerable big hits over the last several weeks as the Mets put together this unlikely run, winning 12 of their last 16. Bruce at second, Granderson at first with 1 out. Mets down a run, and Johnson grounds one down to Votto. Double clutches, gets the out at second, but not at first. That little extra hesitation by Votto cost him the chance for a double play.
Yeah, a little harder for the right-handed first baseman to make that play. Votto tried to take that ball out of his glove. He just didn't have a good grip on it.
So now Michael Conforto will be the pinch hitter, batting for the pitcher. Conforto started yesterday in left field, went 0 for 3 and a walk. Bruce now at third, Johnson at first with 2 out. Conforto takes a rip at that cutter, and it's 0-2. Well, the Mets began the day with 11 bench players with all their call-ups today. Conforto and Johnson used. That leaves 9.
Make sure you have a new Sharpie. I would play Votto behind Kelly Johnson with the left-handed Conforto up. Give him a little more range at first base in that hole.
Now the 0-2. And it just misses inside.
I always wonder if they don't play behind the runner because they're not told to. Someone falls asleep at the wheel.
On the inside corner, he got him looking at a slider. And Lorenzen strikes out Conforto to keep the Reds in front. Second strikeout of the inning for Lorenzen. And he gets through trouble. 3-2 Reds in the 6th.
Season for the Jets and Giants as SNY's NFL insider Ralph Vacchiano breaks down the NFC and AFC East on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Downtown Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark. Kelly Johnson, who pinch hit, stays in the game at second base, and Josh Smoker will be the fourth Met pitcher of the night.
See his Jeep's numbers. The Jeep numbers. He's had some highlights. You see the 12 strikeouts and only 7 2/3 innings of work, despite the high ERA.
Came into a tight spot, got a couple of big outs in his last outing against Washington. One of them on a diving catch by Michael Conforto, but then he struck out Bryce Harper. It was in Saturday night's game against the Nationals. Brandon Phillips, first man to face him. Phillips has flied out and struck out 0 for 2. Rafael Montero went 4 1/3, allowed 3 runs, 3 hits, walked 4. Josh Edgin and Gabriel Inoa each got an out in the 5th, and now Smoker in the 6th. Phillips fouls back the fastball 2-1. So Terry Collins' first day with the truly expanded bench and bullpen, wasting no time getting a whole bunch of them into the game.
Yeah, he's going for it. Well, he was going for it there in the 6th, trying to get his pinch hitters in there against Lorenzen, left-handed hitters, to try to punch a run across.
And that one sails high, and Smoker falls behind Phillips 3-1.
Strange year for Phillips, and I'm talking about the calendar year. There's the available players. You know, had a chance to get traded a couple times, turned down the trade to Washington. I thought it might have been a financial decision, maybe getting traded over there. He wanted maybe to get a couple of years extension on his contract.
Think how history could have been different if Brandon Phillips had not turned down the trade to Washington, because, you know, when the Nationals went to the offseason, their first choice was to sign Ben Zobrist.
That's right.
Who then signed with the Cubs. Then they tried to make the deal for Phillips, who turned it down. Phillips flies one down the right side. Long run for Bruce near the sidewall, and just enough room to make the catch. Nice play by Bruce, who knows that territory well.
If anyone's going to know how to make that play down the line, it'll be Bruce. Probably knows how many steps are over there to that wall. It's a little bit like Citi Field, right? That low wall down the right field line.
So if Phillips hadn't turned down the trade to Washington, he goes to the Nationals. Daniel Murphy's still out of the market. Where would he have gone?
It would have been tough. The Dodgers still had, at that point, thinking about Howie Kendrick, who they signed, but he made him an outfielder.
Right.
Murph might have came back to the Mets for a one-year deal.
Now I'm trying to think when the Walker trade was made. Because if that had already been made, they probably wouldn't have done that. I mean, he had already turned down the qualifying offer from the Mets, which
was that 13.5 or something like that.
15.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
14.8 maybe. Changes from year to year.
Yeah. Raisel Iglesias is up in the bullpen for the Reds. Scott Schebler at the plate is 0 for 2 today, and he lines one the other way. So Schebler with the base hit against the left-hander. And the Reds have a 1-out base runner.
Well, just like the man he replaced. Bruce had a opposite field single in the top of the 6th, and Schebler, who has replaced Bruce, same kind of hit. Good swing on that fastball away from Smoker.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Ivan De Jesus, who struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. Jesus playing third base tonight, 29-year-old utility man, and he lifts one down the right side. Another long run for Bruce, and right at the sidewall he reaches out and can't quite make the grab. That one was a little bit tougher.
Well, it really pinched Bruce up against that right field wall. tries to get it with the backhand and just kind of ran out of room. It's almost like you have to anticipate the jumping and all at the same time as you're trying to catch the baseball.
Yeah, and that was really the only way to approach it. If he'd slid, that ball probably would have hit the sidewall and been out of play anyway. So it's a long strike to DeJesus. And now 0-2. This is a Reds team that was 25 games under 500 at the All-Star break. They're 3 games over 500 since the All-Star break. They've got better pitching. It's kept them in more games. Here they were down 2-0 and they fought their way back in front. Smoker throws the breaking ball at the feet of DeJesus, and it's 1-2.
Well, they needed to play a little better. It was going to cost some people their jobs. Smoker's fun to watch. He's a bundle of energy out there, isn't he?
Got a chance to face his old organization when he took on the Nationals over the weekend. Former Nats first-round draft pick. There goes Schebler, and the breaking ball's fouled off. So Schebler is not much of a base stealer, only 2 this year in motion on that pitch. It is undeniable, though, that teams come to series with the Mets ready to run.
It's something they're going to have to tighten up this winter.
Well,
we'll figure out a way to tighten it up.
Tomorrow afternoon, Noah Syndergaard takes the mound, and you can be sure the Reds will be ready for that. And Smoker strikes him out with a splitter. He gets to DeJesus for the second out.
Nice pitch by Josh. Might have been the breaking ball. So it's hard to tell between his 2 breaking pitches.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because they're about the same velocity.
We'll be able to tell with the grip. That's a breaking ball. Right on the side of the baseball. Gets the spin going, and it eludes DeJesus.
So 2 out. Schebler still at first, and now Tucker Barnhart, who's walked and grounded out. Michael Lorenzen is out on deck to bat for himself. As we mentioned, pretty good hitting pitcher, so Brian Price may roll him along if his turn comes up. There's the split by Smoker, fouled off, 1-1.
This is one of those games that, as a team that is trying to qualify for the postseason, you really have to come with your own energy, because there's not a lot in the ballpark tonight.
Fairly sparse gathering on a Tuesday night in Cincinnati. It's supposed to be very hot tomorrow afternoon for the day game. 12:30 start here tomorrow.
Oh, you bring your shades, Gary, because you'll have the sun here in the booth.
Well, it goes away by game time, but in terms of the pregame preparation, we might have to relocate. So Keith can spread out all he needs to. Barnhart fouls it back, and it's 1-2. Barnhart batting right-handed for the first time tonight. Just a .221 hitter from this side of the plate. And Smoker blows him away with the fastball to end the inning. Back-to-back strikeouts for Smoker to finish the bottom of the 6th. So Smoker with an effective inning. We go to the 7th with the Mets down by a run. Well, some of the images from the Reds of the 60s and 70s. Lee May, Bobby Tolan. That's pre-Big Red Machine days. Going back to their championship year in 1970, or their National League championship team. Gary Nolan, who was just a fabulous pitcher until he hurt his arm in the late 60s. That's the 72 series. George Foster scoring the winning run against the Pirates in the LCS.
Whenever I watched Gary Nolan pitch in those days, because they were always in the playoffs, he reminded me a little bit of Seaver, the way he threw, brought his hand straight over his head.
When he first came up, he looked like he might have a career like Seaver. But like so many pitchers of that era, arm troubles were enough to end your career.
Yeah, and it was shoulder issues that befell most of the pitchers of those days.
Jose Reyes on base 3 straight times with a walk, a home run, a single. He's stolen a base tonight. So Reyes has come back strong after a day of rest, looking to ignite the Mets here in the 7th, down 3-2, facing Michael Lorenzen, who got into and out of trouble in the 6th. And Reyes slaps one the other way, but right to the third baseman, to Jesus. Soft line drive for the first out.
You might ask why it was in shoulders in those days, as Reyes gets sawed off here and just a soft liner. They didn't have a lot of the things that the pitchers do now to tighten up their rotator cuff, band work and exercises. No one really did that in those days.
There's Asdrubal Cabrera, a rare 0 for 3 tonight. Fouled out, struck out, grounded out, and takes it high for ball 1. Well, you're right. They were able to address a lot of the rotator cuff issues that plagued pitchers in the 70s by instituting exercises to work on the muscles around the rotator cuff, but there is no similar strategy for the elbow.
Well, I mean, it's such a small ligament that there's nothing you can do. Now, you can make your biceps stronger, triceps, forearm, wrist, hands, but it's not enough when you're pitching at such a torque that some of these guys who throw 100 or close to 100 are.
So Jim Henderson up in the bullpen for New York. Yoenis Cespedes waiting on deck. Mets have had only 4 hits tonight. 2 solo homers from Granderson and Reyes, and not much else. And inside to Cabrera, 3-1. People's United Bank brings you tonight's starters. Both had trouble with walks. Neither lasted long, but Finnegan is on the top side. Pitcher of record in a 3-2 game. 3-1 to Asdrubal, and he takes a rip. 3-2. That's the home plate umpire, Nick Lentz. If it was a strike, I'm assuming he said no.
Well, a lot of movement on the pitches from Lorenzen, whether it's his two-seamer or his cut fastball.
Well, he's one of the reasons he and Raisel Iglesias in that Reds bullpen that was just dreadful early in the season, why things have gotten so much better for them.
Cabrera hits one right toward the middle, and Cozart with a diving stop, throwing from his knees, not in time.
Cabrera limping down to first base on the bad wheel, just able to beat that great play by Cozart for an infield hit.
Well, Cozart did a great job. Hit on the nose by Cabrera, but he could never get to his feet. So throwing from his knees, he couldn't get him enough on it.
Mark Ripperger, the first base umpire, with the call. And the Reds are not challenging the call. Cabrera clearly beat it. So the Mets have the tying run at first with 1 out. And Cespedes at the plate. Yoenis has struck out, popped up, and been intentionally walked. Just 2 hits in his last 14 at bats. And takes the cutter off the plate for ball 1.
Well, Reyes with a day off hit one out of the ballpark, and Cespedes after a day off come up with a big hit.
Ignores and takes a high strike, 1-1. Remember, because the Mets were facing a lefty today, Wilmer Flores is in the cleanup spot behind Cespedes. And still have left-hand hitting on the bench. De Aza, Loney, Nimmo. They've already used Conforto and Johnson off the bench, the 11-man bench. And Cespedes takes that cutter for a strike. That's a nasty pitch. 1-2.
Yeah, it's the pitch that it looks like it's going to be a backup slider. But Barnhart has been catching it on the inside part, and Nick Lentz now has called 2 of those. Once against Darno and 1 here against Cespedes.
So you're saying he's not intending to throw it that way?
No, he wants to work away to Cespedes.
Cabrera at first with 1 out. And Cespedes won't chase that one. Slider in the dirt. 2-2.
The knothole gang.
I mean, you'd think they'd have a little better view of the action, wouldn't you?
That's it right there. If he had a really short pitcher, he could see out the bottom there.
Well, if it's that hard for them to see out, I guess it's impossible to see in. 2-2 to Cespedes.
And he cracks one to center field. Back goes Peraza to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. Yoenis Cespedes turns the game around with a 2-run homer. The big guy with the big hit, number 28 for Cespedes, and the Mets lead 4-3.
He's just got great insides, and what I mean is that in that at-bat there were 2 pitches called for strikes. He didn't like either one of them, and it did not take him off or out of that at-bat. Stuck his nose in there and got a huge hit.
Superstar player with a superstar hit. Mets' 3rd home run of the night, and they lead it again.
Well, Lorenzen went mostly with breaking balls to Cespedes. He's a great breaking ball hitter. This one caught the middle of the plate.
Deepest part of the ballpark, and it had enough. 412 feet.
It's another kind of backup slider that just sat right in the middle of the plate. Cespedes, so much power.
Wilmer pulls one through the hole, and Flores has a base hit. So Wilmer, who was robbed of a hit on a great play by Votto his last time up, keeps this going. 3 straight hits for the Mets.
You need your superstar players to play like superstars when you need them each and every night, and it seems like Cespedes always gets that hit you need.
Just like 2015, Cespedes right there when the Mets need him. They've been getting a lot of play out of the irregulars, but the guy at the head of the food chain has to contribute, and Cespedes does in a big way.
Mets again scoring with the home run ball.
3 home runs, 4 runs tonight. Now with Flores at first and 1 out. Jay Bruce the batter. Bruce had a base hit his last time up. Went to left field with it against the left-hander. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Mets have now hit 188 home runs this year, creeping up on the Cardinals for #1 in the National League.
Cardinals have homered in 25 straight games. Were you saying before, Gary?
With their 2 tonight, yeah, 25 straight. A franchise record, but not enough so far tonight. They're down in Pittsburgh 6-5 in the 7th after having a 5-0 lead in that game. So this could be an extremely productive night for the Mets. The other team they're chasing, the Giants, are 1-1 at Coors Field with the Rockies in the 4th. Barnhart setting up inside, and Bruce takes the strike on the inside corner. That's the cutter that Lorenzen's been looking for, and it's 0-2. Now the Reds pitching staff is on a pace to give up more home runs than any pitching staff has ever given up. The record is 241, allowed by the 1996 Detroit Tigers. The Reds have now given up 224. So they are on pace to shatter that record. So their pitching staff improved, yes, but still giving up plenty of long ball. Inside to Bruce with the cutter. 1-2. Of course, Babe Bruce has had more home runs in this ballpark than anybody since it opened. 135 home runs at Great American Ballpark. And he pulls that one down to Votto. Out at second. Cozart's return in time for the 3-6-3 double play that ends the inning. But not before Yoenis Cespedes gets the biggest hit of the night. Cespedes dead center, and the Mets lead 4-3. Day game tomorrow to close out this series. Then after a day off Thursday, Mets are in Atlanta for the weekend, then in Washington for 3 before they return home for their final homestand of the year, starting a week from Friday against the Minnesota Twins. So the Twins, Braves, and Phillies in on that last homestand.
Well, the Jeep numbers for Fernando Salas, and it seems like Terry Collins likes going to his right-hander, used in yesterday's game.
Ramon Cabrera is the pinch hitter. Switch hitting backup catcher, takes outside for ball 1. Cabrera hitting at .248 for the year. Salas worked an inning and a third yesterday in closing out the Mets' 5-0 win. Mets have been looking all year for the guy who could solidify the 7th inning with a lead, and they're hoping that Salas can be that guy in front of Reed and Familia. Got him from the Angels, and so far so good.
Remember him pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals earlier in his career.
Cabrera with a big cut. Ramon Cabrera, remember a running back named Don Nottingham?
Yes, of course.
For the Baltimore Colts. They described him as a fire hydrant. That's Ramon Cabrera. The human bowling ball.
I don't know what it is, but backup catchers seem to have that build very often.
Listed at 5'8", 195. That might have been a couple of years ago. Stands a long way from the plate. And takes low and away from Salas and works the count full. Jose Peraza on deck, and then Zach Cozart for the Reds in the bottom of the 7th. Mets had a 2-0 lead. Reds tied it on Duvall's home run in the 3rd. Took the lead in the 5th on Votto's sac fly before Cespedes put the Mets back in front with a 2-run homer. Three and 2 to Ramon Cabrera. And he goes down to the fastball. 1 out in the bottom of the 7th. 8 strikeouts for Met pitchers tonight.
What you like about Salas so far, Gary, he goes right after the hitters. And Cabrera, dead low ball hitter, attacks him with that high fastball.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Jose Peraza, who's 0 for 3 today. And the slider misses high. Ball 1.
You haven't seen Peraza with his good speed attempt to bunt yet. With Reyes, who plays very deep, it wouldn't be a bad time.
Blake Wood, who has been terrific out of that Reds bullpen, getting ready. Well, Peraza's been so hot with the bat.
Yeah.
You can understand why he's been swinging it. Hit one to the warning track in left field his first time up today. Had 2 hits in yesterday's game.
When he first came up, he was not wearing the 2-flapped helmet, but he got hit in the face on a pickoff at first base, and that made him go to the 2 flaps.
By the way, he has 2 bunt hits so far this year.
Yeah.
And now Salas ahead in the count 1-2. Mets have used 5 pitchers already tonight. Rafael Montero went the first 4 1/3, gave up 3 runs, 3 hits. Mets bullpen has held the Reds scoreless so far. And another strikeout for Salas as he went upstairs with the fastball to get Peraza. 2 out. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked who are the 3 players who have 40 or more career home runs against the Reds and have played for the Mets.
Kingman? No.
Mays, Snyder, and Hodges. None of whom played the majority of their career for the Mets. Willie was a Met in 72 and 73. Duke Snyder in 63. Gil Hodges in 62. Grounded slowly. Cabrera waits for it and throws out Cozart in a terrific inning for Fernando Salas. Sets him down 1-2-3 with a couple of strikeouts. 4-3 Mets after 7. Home runs for Reyes, Cespedes, Granderson. Mets have 7 hits, 3 of them home runs, accounting for all 4 runs and a 4-3 lead as we go to the 8th. Raisel Iglesias will take over the pitching for the Reds.
Well, he was hurt, and when he came back off the disabled list in the middle of June, his last 22 appearances have come out of the bullpen, and he's been outstanding.
Really one of the keys to the Reds bullpen turnaround. Travis d'Arnaud is 0 for 3 tonight, a ground out and 2 strikeouts. The Mets saw Iglesias as a starter back in April. That's hit towards short, and Cozart in between hops throws out d'Arnaud, 1 away. Iglesias in that start against the Mets in April went 5 innings, struck out 7, but it took him 102 pitches to get through 5 innings, and he wound up with a no decision.
Well, he has an assortment of pitches, and I think he's in the right place now as a reliever.
Now Curtis Granderson, who got the Mets started tonight with a 2nd inning home run, his 24th of the year. Iglesias, 26 years old, native of Cuba. A lot of arms and legs in that delivery. Granderson lifts one out to left center. Peraza over in the gap to get it. And there are 2 out. So quickly 2 out and nobody on. Now Kelly Johnson will bat for the 2nd time. Kelly came up as a pinch hitter in the 6th, hit into a force play, stayed in at 2nd base. Well, the Mets have gotten the bullpen they've needed tonight. They needed it early. Edgin, Inoa, Smoker, Salas. They've combined for 2 2/3 scoreless innings and set it up perfectly for Reed and Familia, both of whom had the day off yesterday. And there is Addison Reed.
That's pitchers who've gotten 21 outs with 5 pitchers.
Now, I remember when the season began, you were advocating that the Mets' best chance of success this season were if their stud pitchers got 21 outs each day.
That's right. Throw that out the window because a lot of the guys weren't able to stay in the rotation.
Well, they have a couple of 21 out guys left, and one of them pitches tomorrow, and that'll be Noah Syndergaard trying for his 13th win. And Johnson blown away on the fastball by Iglesias at 98 miles an hour. That's an impressive inning for Raisel Iglesias. Mets with a 1-run lead as Addison Reed comes on for the bottom of the 8th. Geico Sports Night with Doug Williams, and I have to tell you, Ronnie, I'm a little shocked that Doug did not lead with Taylor Swift.
Well, I leaked that story first to you earlier in the game. Tom Hiddleston feeling pretty bad right now.
Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame on SNY. Addison Reed on to protect a 1-run lead in the 8th.
Well, so far so good for this bullpen. The 6th pitcher the Mets have used this evening.
Joey Votto drove in a run with a sac fly in the 5th that gave the Reds the lead at the time, and he leads off in the bottom of the 8th. Votto 1 for 2 with that sac fly, his 80th RBI of the season. 3 infielders stacked on the right side against Votto, who's been trying to hit it through the left side this whole series. And he fouls that one off 1-1. He got one through the shortstop hole in the 1st inning for his base hit.
You know, when he first came up, one of the things that was fun to watch of Votto, he had tremendous power to left and left center field. You don't see that as much at this point in his career.
22 home runs this year. And he takes low and in from Reed as d'Arnaud tried to frame it an extra beat for Nick Lentz. 2-1. Adam Duvall, who's homered tonight, is on deck, and then Brandon Phillips for the Reds in the bottom of the 8th.
Looks like Votto's talking to d'Arnaud. d'Arnaud tried to frame that pitch inside.
And Votto pops one a mile high. Cabrera over near the stands, out of play. I guess Votto's feeling is nobody knows the strike zone better than he does.
Right. Don't try to steal a pitch on him.
But he said it in a nice way. You know why? It's Canadian.
I've never been a bad Canadian, ever.
2-2 from Reed to Votto. And it's low, full count. Of course, Votto draws more walks than anybody. 99 walks this year, leads the league. 446 on base percentage the last 4 years before this one. And he leads the league again this year at 435. 3-2 coming. In the air. Deep to center, but playable. Granderson has plenty of room. 1 out.
Just
one huge out for Addison Reed.
Just got in on Votto. Just an inch maybe. Ran it up the bat. Supposed to be away. Ends up down and in.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Adam Duvall, who had a 2-run opposite field home run in the 3rd inning off Rafael Montero that tied the game at the time. 1 for 2 and a walk tonight. And he lifts one to right. Easy play for Bruce. Can of corn, 2 out.
You know, the one thing that has run through this entire season is, of course, the great success that Reed has had. But, you know, he doesn't light up the ray gun at 97, 98, but the hitters are always a pace behind him. It's a little late.
So is it late movement? Is it that he hides it particularly well?
I think he hides it particularly well, and I think that they just don't pick it up as well.
Now they'll face Brandon Phillips with 2 out. Phillips is 0 for 3 today, 1 for 7 in this series. 0 for 4 in his career against Addison Reed. That's cracked to left field, and that'll go back to the wall. Cespedes plays the carom. His throw to second base. He might get him, and Phillips is out. Side retired. Yoenis Cespedes. His home run gives the Mets the lead. His arm keeps Phillips from getting to second base. What a cannon. They're handing it off the wall, and a perfect strike.
On the fly, Gary.
This is what a 5-tool player does. That was just one of the tools. Kind of a night. 2-run homer to put his team in front. Unbelievable throw to keep the tying run out of scoring position.
Despite the 37 players, you make room for Cespedes on the bench.
Alejandro De Aza pinch hitting for Reed as we start the ninth, and Blake Wood is on to pitch for the Reds.
Well, he's been good. Started his career in Kansas City, pitched a little bit in Cleveland. Tommy John surgery 4 years ago.
31 years old, out of Georgia Tech. Facing De Aza,
who hits one in the air to deep right center field. Back goes Peraza to the track at the wall. It's out of here. A pinch hit home run for Alejandro De Aza, the Mets' 4th home run of the night. To give them some insurance, it's now 5-3 New York.
Well, the Mets did a great job of adding on in yesterday's game, adding on some runs, and De Aza does it here. All the runs scored by the Mets on home runs.
The Mets' 11th pinch hit home run of the season. De Aza's 6th home run of the year, and his 2nd as a pinch hitter. And the Mets get the tack-on run, and now Reyes, who has a home run tonight.
Now, ball middle. And we talked about right field and right center. Ball just flies out of here.
Imagine if the Mets played 81 games in this ballpark.
It hit 250, 240.
Changeup by Wood has Reyes flailing, and it's 0-2. We'll say 2 hits, a walk, a stolen base, and his 5th home run of the year. De Aza joining the home run parade. Mets now with 189 home runs for the season. And Wood strikes out Reyes for the first out of the inning. Now is Dribble Cabrera, 1 for 4, had an infield hit his last time up and scored in front of Cespedes' go-ahead home run in the 7th. In the bottom of the ninth, the Reds will have 6, 7, and 8 in the order. Schebler, DeJesus, and Barnhart due up against Jerry's Familia, who will be bidding for his 45th save.
Again, Reed through the heart of the lineup.
Funny how that works, doesn't it?
Right.
Grounded toward the hole. Phillips with a nice diving stop and throws him out from his knees. 2 out. Good play by the 4-time Gold Glover.
Well, great range. Maybe D. Gordon, because of his speed, has a little more range from second base, but no one more shorthanded than Phillips.
Gordon won the Gold Glove last year, but having been suspended half this year, I wonder where that Gold Glove goes this year. DJ LeMahieu has won it before.
That's right.
And I'm wondering whether he gets it back. I don't know if Phillips is still of the caliber to get it back. So here's Cespedes, who has certainly made his mark on this game. Was retired his first 2 at bats, intentionally walked in the 5th, but then with the Mets down a run in the 7th, hit one into the grass over the center field fence to give the Mets the lead. And then compounded his accomplishments with that scintillating outfield assist, gunning down Brandon Phillips at second base.
Lewis had a pretty good year at second base defensively in the National League. Gene Segura has had a nice year.
Moving over from shortstop.
Yeah.
Well, the Mets hoping for some help from the Pirates. They were down 5-0. They lead the Cardinals 6-5 in the top of the 8th. If the Mets win and the Cardinals lose, they would be in a virtual tie. And then there's the Giants, who started the day in the first wild card spot, just a half game up on St. Louis, a game and a half in front of the Mets. The Giants are 1-1 with the Rockies in the bottom of the 5th. Giants got shut out on 2 hits by Chad Bettis at Coors Field last night.
The rare 1-1 game after 5 innings in Colorado.
Giants have just stopped hitting. 1-2 coming. And Cespedes bounces one to short. Big hop for Cozart. And that retires the side. Alejandro De Aza adds the Mets' 4th home run of the night. A pinch hit shot to give Familia a 2-run cushion as we go to the bottom of the 9th in Cincinnati. The 9th, Alejandro De Aza will stay in and play center field, and Jerry's Familia will bid for his 45th save.
Fantastic numbers, Jeep numbers, of course, for Familia, who's going to have to be near perfect down the stretch.
Did I say 45? He's going for 46.
No. Shortchanged him.
He did have a non-save situation his last outing Sunday night against the Nationals. Came in with a 4-run lead. But now he goes for 46. Scott Schebler will lead off against him in the last of the 9th. The Rockies have just taken the lead on the Giants 2-1 in the 5th. So this could be an enormous night for the Mets as they push toward a wild card. Scott Schebler swings through the first pitch fastball, 0-1.
And scoreboard watching is fun this time of year, isn't it?
Is it like it's not a thing anymore that when you're down by 2 runs in the 9th you take a strike?
No. Everyone just comes up swinging.
But I mean, they do understand that when you're down by 2, you can't tie it unless you get someone on. That if you hit a home run, it's the same as drawing a walk.
You understand when they're down by 1, you swing the bat because, you know, you might run into one.
Right. Just don't understand that piece. 0-2 from Familia, and Schebler takes it high, 1-2.
And it's not only that, Gary. You know, if Familia has a tiny Achilles heel, it would be that sometimes he loses the strike zone.
They've gone to the bottom of the 8th in Pittsburgh. Pirates 6, Cardinals 5. 1-2 to Schebler with DeJesus on deck. And the slider is down, 2-2. Mets have used 7 pitchers tonight. Josh Smoker is pitcher of record on the long side. But Edgin, Inoa, Smoker, Salas, Reed, 3 2/3 scoreless innings in relief behind Rafael Montero. And now Familia trying to finish it off. Two coming. Fouled away. So Schebler hanging in there.
Again, the 2-2. Struck him out. Got him with a slider. 1 down in the 9th.
Got him thinking about that 4-seam fastball upstairs, and then broke the slider right in on his toes. That's the one pitch that's gotten better as the season's gone along for Familia.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Ivan DeJesus is 0 for 3, struck out twice and grounded out. Thinking of a pinch hitter in this spot, Brian Price doesn't have much of a left-handed bench with Billy Hamilton hurt. He's got his 3rd catcher, Rafi Lopez. He's the only left-hand bat left on his bench. So he stays with DeJesus in this spot with the switch hitter Barnhart on deck. Reds have had just 5 hits tonight, only 2 against the bullpen. And a slider in for a strike, and Familia quickly ahead 0-2.
Sharp slider for Familia.
That one left DeJesus shaking his head. Might have thought it was high.
Some orange and blue here.
That's trying to beat the Reds for the 13th straight time. Second longest win streak against any particular team in the Mets franchise history. They had a 15-game winning streak against the Pirates back in the 80s. Mets haven't lost a game to the Reds since late in 2014. And the quick pitch low and away, 1-2. Familia trying to extend his own club record for saves in a season. 45 and counting. One, 2. Fouled away. The Mets 5 runs, 8 hits. The Reds 3 runs, 5 hits. The Mets have hit 4 home runs tonight. And there's that winning streak. Familia trying to perpetuate it for one more night. 1-2. Blowing away with the slider. A couple of quick pitches in this at bat. Last time the Reds beat the Mets in 2014, Johnny Cueto got the win. Aroldis Chapman got the save. Todd Frazier and Chris Heisey hit home runs. All former Reds now.
All gone.
Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to DeJesus. DeJesus hangs in there. They've gone to the 9th in Pittsburgh. Pirates 6, Cardinals 5. So in a few minutes, if everything stays the way it is, the Mets would be in a virtual tie with St. Louis after being 5.5 games back of them a little over 2 weeks ago.
Well, it was that series in San Francisco, right? When the Mets lost that Friday night game, they were 2 games under 500. They won the next night and things changed.
Bartolo Colon won the Saturday game. Syndergaard pitched that gem Sunday night, and the Mets were off and moving. Won 2 out of 3 in St. Louis and have kept it moving. 2-2. Bouncing ball. Reyes cuts it off and bobbles it for the air. And so the door is open for the Reds in the 9th inning. DeJesus reaches on the E5, and the tying run will come to bat.
Well, I don't know if this is a fact, but watch Reyes when he goes to his left. See Cabrera running right behind him. I don't know if that had any influence on him not being able to make that play. Familia hold up.
Don't worry about it. Got your back. So now Tucker Barnhart will bat. Tying run at the plate in a 5-3 game. Barnhart has 7 home runs this year. Tonight he's 0 for 2 in a walk, grounded out and struck out. Facing Familia for the first time. And he hits one in the air to left. Cespedes back, has room, 2 out. And back to first goes to Jesus. And now the Reds are down to their final out of the night. And Eugenio Suarez will come up as a pinch hitter.
Cespedes looked a little more nimble going back on that ball.
I think since he hit the home run,
feeling good about himself.
A little bit better. Well, here's Suarez, who's a threat. 20 home runs this year. Regular third baseman for the Reds. 1 for 4 in the game yesterday. In the night off tonight. Now he'll be facing Familia for the first time. 2 out to Jesus at first, and Jay Reese trying to close it out. Now Suarez takes a slider for a strike. And Suarez fouls it back. And now the Reds are down to their final strike.
Boy, he got a good pitch to hit there, just missed it.
He's been up with a few fastballs in this inning.
It's almost like he's not throwing the sinker tonight, going with that 98-mile-an-hour four-seamer.
Met fans to their feet, hoping Familia can put on the finishing touches. 0-2 to Suarez. Check swing. Did he go? He went around strike 3, and the ball game is over. Save number 46 for Familia. The Mets hit 4 home runs. Cespedes with the go-ahead blow. The Mets beat the Reds for the 13th straight time, and they keep the good times rolling with a 5-3 win in Cincinnati.
You know, it seems like every single night, as far as the pitching staff's concerned, it doesn't matter who's starting. They figure it out. 7 pitchers used by the Mets in 9 innings. And that good sinking fastball that Suarez is called out on. But the home run ball again, and then Cespedes being Cespedes when you needed him the most.
Mets got 4 2/3 scoreless innings out of their bullpen, and 1 big blow off that man's bat. 2-run homer in the top of the 7th to put the Mets in front to stay. The game summary presented by Verizon. Josh Smoker gets the victory in relief. And Familia picks up save number 46 to extend his club record. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Katz Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwellhealth.com/KIWH. This win brings the total